Hello and welcome to Wales Today. Tonight's headlines. Hundreds of steel jobs are set to go across the country. BBC Wales understands details of the plan are expected to be made public early next week. Most of the jobs are expected to be lost at the Tata steelworks in Port Talbot.
It's very important work. They're a very high-skilled, high-motivated workforce in there. You become attached to the people that are in there, you become attached to the place. But it's a big about the community when it comes.
Good evening. For years, there have been fears for the Welsh steel industry, and tonight BBC Wales understands Tata, which employs 6,000 steelworkers here, is expected to announce hundreds of job losses early next week. Most of those posts are expected to go at the firm's Port Talbot plant. Sources have told us the move is part of a plan to safeguard jobs at the steelworks in the long term. Cameron Davis has this exclusive report.
The British steel industry is in crisis. In recent months, thousands of steelworkers have lost their jobs in Scotland and the north of England, and the focus is now on Wales and Port Talbot, where Tata Steel employs thousands of people. The plant's reported to be losing £1 million a day, and BBC Wales has been told an announcement on job losses here and across Wales could be made as early as next week. The number of jobs axed is expected to be in the high hundreds, but less than 1,000. Anthony Taylor is a local councillor who spent 44 years working at the steelworks.
It wasn't out of the blue. We did expect something to be announced, and it's going to be announced sort of next couple of days, we expect. So yes, a blow for me as a person, because it's an emotional thing. Planned for 44 years, you become attached to the people that are in there, you become attached to the place. But it's a bigger blow to the community when it comes.
It goes without saying that Tata is the biggest employer in this area. Everyone, it seems, knows someone employed at the steelworks, and people here tell me the plant does much more than support individual families. It sustains the whole community.
I work in a local cafe. Obviously, without the money generated by steelworks and the jobs that they supply, we wouldn't have any customers, basically. So yeah, they're part of our bread and butter.
Absolutely essential, isn't it, to the town? Once the steelworks goes, I think we'll be looking at a further demise of our town, really. So yes, I would say essential.
Tata Steel says any announcement will be made to its workforce first, but local politicians are already braced for bad news.
It's clear that there's been a perfect storm hitting the steel industry, and the result of that is the steel industry has to restructure, has to look at cutting some of its costs. It's got to weather the storm. I am absolutely convinced that with the trade unions and the government and Tata Steel working constructively in partnership with each other, we can weather this storm, we can ride it out, and we can actually come back stronger.
With other sites in Newport, Llanwern, Trostre and Shotton, Tata employs a total of 6,000 people across Wales, but the vast majority, around 4,000 workers, are based in Port Talbot. The Economy Minister met with company bosses on a pre-arranged visit to Deeside this morning, but wouldn't be drawn on possible job losses.
I await if anything officially comes from the company. I don't comment on rumours. There's so many rumours about the steel industry. If we were commenting on anything, it wouldn't be right and fair. Because if there are any issues around jobs, I'm sure the company will be wanting to deal with their workforce first. Obviously, if we have any announcement from the company, the government will respond appropriately.
Unions say they're broadly satisfied with the Welsh Government's attempts to protect steelworkers, but they're frustrated with the lack of action from ministers in Westminster. The UK government told us it has been proactive in helping the steel industry by cutting energy costs and taking action on imports, for example. But it seems that simply hasn't been enough to protect Welsh steelworkers, whose future this evening is more uncertain than ever.
Well, let's speak to our business correspondent, Brian Meakin, who's at the Tata Steelworks in Port Talbot. And Brian, the final decision on job losses will actually be made in India.
The final decision will certainly be made in India. I believe that we're going to hear early next week that between 500 and 800 jobs will be lost here at Tata in Port Talbot, and there will be other job losses in Tata in Wales. Now, we heard in Kemlin's report there, it's losing £1 million a day here. But one of the big things that they've always held on to here is that there's been huge amount of investment and a huge amount of patience ultimately by the Indian headquarters who's put that investment in to see if they can get a return on that money. The concern is that not only the 800 people who lose their jobs here and the difficulties that will cause in the community, that actually the Indian headquarters may finally reach a point where it's lost patience, and so these 800 jobs may be a best case scenario ultimately, and we could be looking towards an even worse decision, perhaps even as soon as later this month. So another devastating blow for this company and for this industry.
Brian Meakin, thank you. And we'll bring you any updates on this story over the weekend, including a special report on Sunday Politics Wales. That's this Sunday morning at 11 o'clock here on BBC One Wales.